1 year ago, a Boeing 787 plunged from the sky just 32 seconds after takeoff, killing 260 people. One miraculously survived. The international rulebook governing such tragedies demanded a final investigation report within 12 months. That deadline, June 12, 2026, has passed. Yet what we received wasn't a report, but a mere statement. A year of anxious waiting, a crucial question unanswered by any official source, and a document that, by the investigators' own admission, leaves the case wide open. What was promised, what was actually delivered, and why this discrepancy is so critical, is what we're exploring today on Final Descent. I've been meticulously following this story for the past year. Following the crash, a preliminary report was issued, offering select early investigative details, snippets from the cockpit voice recorder, or CVR, but never a full transcript. This curated release of information only sparked more questions than it answered. Just a month ago, the Indian Authority assured everyone that a final report, adhering to the 12-month timeframe stipulated by ICAO Annex 13 rules, was imminent. Instead, on the anniversary, we received only a statement. Before we delve into what this statement entails and its implications, it's vital to remember that 260 lives were lost that day, 241 on board, and 19 on the ground. A year later, their families remain in agonizing suspense, and the global aviation community awaits crucial answers. Let's quickly recap the tragic events. Air India Flight 171, carrying 242 passengers and crew, departed Ahmedabad. Shortly after takeoff, both engines unexpectedly lost power, leading to the aircraft crashing into a medical dormitory. In a truly miraculous turn of events, one passenger on board managed to escape the burning wreckage. This incident immediately ignited widespread controversy. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, the AAIB, released its preliminary report exactly 1 month after the crash. This report presented facts that seemed to suggest the crash was pilot-induced, immediately sparking accusations from others who claimed it was a cover-up for potential equipment malfunctions or maintenance oversights. For the better part of a year, these arguments have raged across courts, the press, and social media. So, what transpired on June 12, 2026, precisely 1 year after the crash? The AAIB, the lead investigative agency, unveiled a new document. The anticipation was palpable. Many expected the final report, given the international 12-month deadline. Even India's Supreme Court, in February 2026, had allotted the AAIB a time frame for its submission, and just a month prior, assurances were made that it would be released. However, what the AAIB delivered was an interim statement. A statement, not a report. The distinction is crucial. A report presents findings and conclusions, while a statement merely provides an update. The document, published on the anniversary, states, and I quote the official language, that significant progress has been made and evidence is being analyzed in an integrated manner. It clarifies that the final report will only be issued once all investigative work is complete and an international review process is finalized. Crucially, it provides no new deadline, identifies no cause, and explicitly requests the public to refrain from speculation. Therefore, for those eagerly awaiting the definitive answer as to why this aircraft crashed, that answer remains elusive. To truly grasp why a statement, not a report, was issued, and why this isn't necessarily the scandal it might appear to be, we must first understand the rulebook. Every major civil aviation crash is investigated under a standardized framework known as Annex 13, established by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, the United Nations body responsible for global aviation standards. Consider Annex 13 the operational manual for crash investigations, dictating who participates and what information can be disclosed. Several key aspects within this manual illuminate the current frustrations. Firstly, an investigation has a singular purpose: accident prevention, not blame. Annex 13 explicitly states, the sole objective of the investigation of an accident or incident shall be the prevention of accidents and incidents. It is not the purpose of this activity to apportion blame or liability. So, when the AAIB consistently avoids assigning blame, it's not evasion, it's adhering to its fundamental ICAO mandate. Secondly, concerning leadership, The country where the crash occurs spearheads the investigation. In this case, India. As the aircraft was Indian registered and operated by Air India, India holds multiple roles. However, since Boeing manufactured the 787 and GE produced its engines in the United States, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, participates as the American representative, with Boeing and GE acting as technical advisors. Furthermore, given that dozens of British citizens perished, the United Kingdom also maintains a defined seat at the table. Thirdly, let's address the timeline, the aspect that often grabs headlines. Annex 13 mandates a preliminary report within 30 days, which India duly delivered on July 12, 2025. It then requests a final report as soon as possible, and, if possible, within 12 months. However, a crucial detail often overlooked is that the rulebook specifies that if a 12-month completion isn't feasible, the investigating country must publish an interim statement on the anniversary detailing its progress. Missing the 12-month target is, in fact, quite common, making the anniversary statement a built-in fallback. My concern, however, is that they led us to believe a final report was on schedule in the months preceding this deadline. The rulebook further clarifies two additional points you've likely pondered. You've heard about cockpit audio, a recording of the pilot's final conversations, yet you've never heard it publicly. Annex 13 explicitly protects cockpit voice recordings from public release. It also specifies that the names of individuals involved are not to be disclosed. Thus, while the preliminary report could describe the exchange or provide a partial transcript, it could not, by rule, identify whose voice it was by name. The frustration lies in the fact that they could have specified whether it came from the captain or the first officer. Finally, the rulebook explains why a final report genuinely couldn't have been released on this anniversary. Before a final report is made public, the lead country is obligated to circulate a draft to all other participating nations, allowing them 30, sometimes even 60 days for comment. Reports from one outlet indicated that the United Kingdom had not even received this draft. If accurate, then under the rulebook, an on-time final report was, mathematically speaking, impossible. With that framework established, let's revisit the tragic events for those unfamiliar with the story. On the afternoon of June 12, 2025, Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, departed Ahmedabad in western India, bound for London. This was a grim milestone, the first fatal crash in the Boeing 787's history, the first time one had ever been destroyed. Approximately 32 seconds after liftoff, the aircraft plummeted into a medical college campus less than 1.6 kilometers from the runway. The impact obliterated the aircraft and damaged ground buildings. According to the preliminary report, immediately after the aircraft reached its maximum speed and lifted off, both engine fuel control switches, the mechanisms that supply fuel to the engines, inexplicably moved from run to cut off, one after the other, separated by about a second. Fuel supply was severed. The report details the cockpit voice recording, where one pilot is heard asking the other why he cut off the fuel, to which the other pilot responds that he did not. This is where the official account abruptly ends. The report describes the physical movement of these switches but offers no explanation for why they moved, who or what caused them to move, or if they were moved at all. On one side, some safety analysts, reviewing the report, contend that these switches could not have moved on their own, asserting that their operation requires deliberate human action. Conversely, India's pilot organizations vehemently pushed back, arguing against ruling out an undiscovered technical or electrical fault. They strongly objected to any implication of blame falling on the two deceased pilots, who cannot defend themselves, and have called for a separate judicial inquiry. The AAIB has not officially sided with either argument, nor can it, under the rulebook, until the investigation is complete. Throughout the year, pressure mounted from all directions. Victims' families filed lawsuits, petitions reached India's Supreme Court, and pilot associations sent letters to the government. There were reports of mandatory fuel switch inspections being ordered across the fleet. While several of these reports stem from limited sourcing, they collectively paint a picture of the intense scrutiny and speculation surrounding the incident. It's worth noting that if a significant technical glitch with these switches had been identified, one would typically expect an emergency airworthiness directive to be issued to the entire Boeing 787 fleet. Amidst this complex investigation, there is one individual who lived through the unimaginable. The sole survivor is Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, a British man from Leicester, who was seated in 11A. Tragically, his younger brother, seated in the same row, did not survive. A year on, Mr. Ramesh is back home in England, still grappling with profound physical injuries and, by all accounts, deep psychological trauma. His message is clear and simple. He seeks honesty, transparency, and above all, answers. So, here is the stark reality of where this investigation stands today. An aircraft model, the Boeing 787, that had previously boasted a flawless safety record in terms of fatal crashes, experienced its first. 260 lives were extinguished. The fuel supply to both engines was inexplicably cut just seconds after takeoff, and a full year later, no official cause has been published. We still don't know why those switches moved, whether it was human error, a mechanical failure, an electrical malfunction, or something entirely new and unidentified. We don't know which pilot uttered which words in the cockpit, and critically, we have no idea when the final report will actually arrive. While one news agency, citing an anonymous source, suggested it could be several more months, this remains an unconfirmed estimate, and the official statement offers no timeline whatsoever. The investigation continues, meticulously examining maintenance and operational records. Eventually, it will produce a final report structured according to the rulebook, presenting the facts, the analysis, the conclusions, and most importantly, safety recommendations, not a verdict, but crucial lessons. My personal takeaway is this: to truly prevent future tragedies of this scale, we must, for the time being, set aside the impulse to blame. Investigators must examine all evidence objectively, free from any preconceived notions. Otherwise, they risk selectively interpreting information to support existing biases. I believe the truth, whatever it may be, is paramount. The families of the victims deserve that truth, and it is the only path to ensuring that such a devastating event never happens again. This has been our report on the one-year milestone for Air India 171 on final descent.